Hey there, just before you jump onto this webinar, make sure you click the subscribe button and also click the bell icon so that you're notified of all future trainings. Now let's get into this one.
Generally, we've got different topics on our training. Today, we are looking more at the reporting side of things. And what I mean by that is the financial reports. So if you're not the accountant or the person that does all the, month ends or anything like that, I have recorded this session. So you can, I guess, send it to your accounts team or the teams that look after your month ends, or, whoever needs to look at these financial reports. So what I might quickly do is I will basically focus on the portal side of things and where you can find the reports, and where I've got time. And if your center does use our merchant for processing payments, I'll show you where you can find your reports in Fat Zebra, because I find that that's very useful to know, and a lot of services might not necessarily know where the reports are in Fat Zebra. Okay, so I'll just quickly show you in the portal. I've just logged into our dummy site, so this data is not real, but on your one, what you'll do is you'll go under reports. And if you scroll down to all reports, this is essentially where you will find all our reports categorized. Well, we try to categorize it as much as we can. You got your attendances, occupancy, your children. And again, this is more just when you get a chance, you just have to go in there and play around with all these different links and find out what they are. But what I will focus on today is this section here, the financial reporting. So just for the guys that are just joining now, today I'm just going to be focusing on the financial reporting side of things. And I'm just showing you in the portal where it is. It's under reports. And then under all reports, this is just the fastest way to find it, that's all. And then I'm looking at all these financial reports. Now, before I go into these specific reports, I might just quickly run through, and I know Pete normally goes through this in his weekly training, but under families and accounts, just keep in mind, anytime you run any of these financial reports, and I'm referring to any of them, and I just do this as a habit thing, I always balance my accounts. And what I mean by that is, if you go to your families and then go family/account, you'll see a balance column here, and generally you'll see a date under that balance number. Now, what that means is this particular family here, this account here, the balance is 10,600 as of that particular date there. Now, just keep in mind when you're running your report, so you're wanting to, do a month end for last month, say October, you just want to make sure your balance date here covers that actual period. So you don't want it to say June or July. It just means that all your family transactions, so what I mean by that is, if I open this screen here, all your family transactions are only going to be showing transactions up to, say, if I said June, it'll only show up to June. And if you're running reports for October, you won't have data. So before you run any reports, before you're doing any of your month ends and you're trying to do your audit summary report, what you generally want to do, just as a habit, is go to your family and accounts, and you want to balance and this is sort of where you do that. You want to balance your accounts up to either where you're wanting to do your reports to, or further out. But what that does is it makes sure you pull through all the most recent changes to your transactions. It pulls through any updates to amounts that may have been processing still in Fat Zebra but have since cleared. So sometimes you might often see, especially centres that use our merchant, sometimes the transactions on the account say processing, but they've in fact actually cleared already. And that's because you haven't balanced your accounts. And what that means is, obviously, you're refreshing all your transactions to update them, I suppose. So all those processing, statuses should disappear, and the transaction will just appear on the family transaction screen. So I'm just going to do a general example. If I wanted to look at my accounts, for future dated, you can just, today's date's the 28th, and I want to see what my accounts are at the end of the week. I'm going to put it, usually I'll do a Sunday date. So I'll go the 4th, I'll click update family account balances. And it takes a little bit of time depending on how many accounts you have. But basically, it will update all your accounts here, and you'll see all the numbers change. Red obviously means that they owe and there's an outstanding amount. Green means that they're in credit. And 0 just means there's nothing left. No outstanding amount on that as of that date. So this is just telling me, as of the December 4th, this particular account is going to owe me this much. And just as a shortcut, what you can do on this screen is you can click that balance number, and it just shortcuts to the family transaction screen. So it saves you having to go, to the left-hand menu and navigating it that way. And so if I just scroll down, you'll see as of December 4th, that's going to be my balance. Now, sometimes you might get families saying, oh, I can't see my transactions up to so-and-so. So if I go back to my families and accounts page, keep in mind, whatever date you've balanced your accounts to is where your families will see up to. So if you don't want your families to see up to December 4th and you only want them to see up to, say, today's date, for example, you can. But we generally encourage you to balance them the same end date as your invoices. So if your current invoices are invoiced to the end of the week or, say, the end of next week, you generally want to balance it to the exact same date as those invoices, just so your balances that are showing here, they match the actual invoices that the families are seeing, or sorry, that they're meant to pay, and there's going to minimize any questions as to why those numbers don't match. Now, I won't go too much into this page because I know Pete, again, does this on a weekly basis. What I really wanted to just point out here was when you are running any of your financial reports, and so what I mean by that is your audit summary report, reconciliation report, age debtors report. If you're running any of those reports, basically any financial reports, just make it a habit to go into the families and accounts page, balance your accounts first. And I'm just going to keep repeating myself because I have people joining as I'm going. Just make sure you balance your accounts so that you're pulling through all your recent transactions, any changes in transactions, because you can backdate transactions, don't forget. So if you say go into an account and you want to add a transaction because you forgot to add a charge on an account, you can actually backdate it. So if I'm doing, say, my month end for October and I've added in a transaction and I'm going to backdate it to October, so I'm going to let's do an example. So I'm going to add, $100. Oops, $100. $100. Oops, it won't let me. There you go. And I'm going to say charge. Obviously, you put as much description as you can. And I've backdated it to October and I add transaction. And then I go to run my audit summary report, but I haven't balanced my accounts. And say I want to run my October reports now. I'm going to go 1st of October to the 31st of October and I generate my report. What I'll find is, obviously, I won't go into the actual detail yet, but that particular transaction that I added, that $100 transaction, won't appear here because I haven't balanced my accounts. And I've literally just added in a transaction that will fall within this date range. So that's why I always generally go, just balance your accounts anyway. Even if you haven't added a transaction, I don't know, anything could change. So I usually just balance them anyway. So once you've balanced your accounts and you're going, yep, now I'm ready to run my audit summary report, this is then where you can click into your audit summary. So for those that don't generally use this, or if you've got accountants or if you've got your finance team that use these reports, I'll go through, the key areas of this report and what it's used for, whether it's for yourself or you can, send this recording to whoever needs to look at it. But from experience, most centres will do either a weekly or a monthly reconciliation. And I know the word reconciliation can mean different things for different services. When I say reconciliation in this instance, what I'm referring to is I'm looking at the income figure for the week, how much is coming in for the week and how much has hit my bank account for the week. And again, I'll try and show you screenshots of the Fat Zebra merchant dashboard because that's really, really, really helpful in terms of just checking the transactions have actually been paid. If you don't have access to your Fat Zebra merchant, just send us an email and we'll just see if you've got, the right access level. And if you don't, I'll send you an invite, because a lot of the time people don't have that access and it's very, very difficult to, check that you're getting paid what you're supposed to pay if you don't have access to those reports. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to the audit summary report, and I am mindful of the time. So if I go over, I'm sorry, but I'll see how we go. So I'm going to use the example. Currently, I'm the 28th of November, but I want to check my payments and all my transactions for the month of October. I just want to make sure what I've booked for my revenue is actually what I've received. And if I haven't received it, how much is owing to my set service. So the first thing I will do is, one, I would have balanced my accounts. I then go into my audit summary report and I can just filter my dates. Now keep in mind, if you have debits. So if you are a service that debits on, say, a Friday, and in particular, this particular month, a Friday falls on the 28th is a Friday, and payments do take up to 3 days to process. So if I was debiting my accounts on this Friday here and it's working days, those payments won't clear, and so they won't hit the account, like your account, until the next month. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, so it won't hit till the 2nd of November. So just keep in mind, if you run this report from the 1st of October to the 31st of October, it may not miss, but the last week of those payments might not hit your account till November. So then you would include those ones in your November reconciliation. As long as you do it consistently every single month, then those payments will eventually, I guess, catch up towards the end of the year. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then sorry. I'll try my best to speak as clear as possible. Okay, so I've run my October figures now. I'll just briefly run through what this page is without getting into too much detail. But essentially what this audit summary report is looking at, it's giving you a snapshot of, for that date range, how much is my service expected to receive? How much have I actually received? And then there's a little difference number here. Now, this difference number isn't set in stone. It just gives you an indication, because obviously there's going to be timing issues, and your service might also bill in advance, might bill in arrears. So it's not what's the word? It's due to timing as well. So I'll just quickly go through the top section here. So it is separated into debits and credits. So debits in the sense that this is the amount that, and I'm just going to go through the 2 categories here. You've got fees charged. Now, these are all your attendance charges, and these are based off of your permanent bookings, any casual bookings. It's whatever attendance charges you have on your family transaction screen. And what I mean by that is this link here. So the system's gone between these 2 dates. I'm going to accumulate all my families with attendances, and I'm expected to, or I should have received $67,000 in attendances. Now, you might also see a figure in the other charges, and a lot of services will ask, well, what are my other charges? Generally, these are all your fees, or some services might do HAT charges, late fee charges, and those are categorized under your other charges. So the receivables, it's an amount that you receive, but it's not a fee. It's not the attendance charges. It will just categorize it as other charges. I'm going to see if I can open another window so I can give you an example. I'll go through what I mean by that. Okay, let's just go through the rest of the categories. It'll total it, and these are my total debits. So in theory, in the month of October, so the 1st to the 31st, I should expect to receive $68,000. Now, it then breaks down to your credits, what you've actually received or what you should receive. Now, this is a dummy site, so there won't be any CCS, and there won't actually be any payments going through FatZebra. But let's just pretend that there is. Let's pretend your centre, well, not pretend, but let's say your centre receives CCS. You'll see that figure here. And so the system will go, yep, between these 2 dates, it will accumulate all your CCS payments, and you'll see that figure here. Similarly with the deductions, if you've retracted or withdrawn sessions, obviously the CCS gets deducted, and you'll see that amount there. Now, you'll see these numbers next to the total figure, and those numbers is representing how many transactions have made up that total. So bear with me, I'll show you how you can download this and find out what those transactions or what those individual transactions are. So again, those are your CCS payments, and then your other part of your credits will be all the other, methods of your centre collecting these payments. Now, if you're on our merchant and you have services using direct debit or credit card, we have now broken it down. It used to just be one total amount, and it said payment gateway. We've now broken it down because that's how FatZebra does their reporting as well. So you should see all your total debits for that month, and all your total credits that have gone through FatZebra, so they've actually processed. And then obviously if you've got all your other categories, if you collect cash, FPOS, if you do staff discounts as well. So if your staff are on the staff discount staff discount, you'll see the discounted amount here. Same with the GAT waivers. So you'll see, like, when you get a chance, just go through these categories and you'll see all these, credit categories broken down. You will see here, so sometimes you might see a currently processing amount here, and that's all your FatZebra payments that haven't yet cleared. So if I'm running my report I know I'm doing October, but say I was doing it for November and I was doing for the whole month of November, I would expect to see some processing payments here because, so I'm just going to let a few people in. You would expect some currently processing figures here, and those would be the ones that have not yet cleared through Fat Zebra. So if I just quickly look at this summary page, I don't know why it's not scrolling. Whoopsie, sorry. Oh, here we go. If I just quickly look at it as a snapshot, I'm looking at this going, yep, for the month of October, I should be receiving $68,000. I've actually only received $1,000. So I'm now in my head going, I'm missing like 66 something $1,000. Okay, so I'm just going to answer a quick question in chat. How long do payments usually process for? So if it's a direct debit, it can take up to 3 working days. And then obviously if there's public holidays, it's an extra day there. Credit cards are usually instant. So once you click that debit all, or if you have the auto on, the credit cards usually get taken out of the customer's account immediately. Doesn't necessarily mean it gets deposited in your account immediately. That still takes up to 3 days as well. Okay, so I'll just quickly go back down here. So as I was saying, if I see the difference here, what I'm going to be saying to myself is, okay, my service is still expected to receive $66,000 for the month of October. That's what that means. Now, for services that want to break this down, so you can get your revenue figures here. So you can say for the month of October, this is going to be my revenue. I'm not going to include other charges in there. But if you want to break it down, again, this is something that I would suggest you sort of have a play around with in terms of what the exports look like. But I generally will encourage everyone to use the group sessions. And the reason why I say that is, and I'll export it so we can see, is that it gives you basically all the categories and all the families and all your transactions in that one download, and you can use filters. Now, this is a Mac that I'm not usually working on, so I don't even know if I can open this. I'm going to hope, oh, here we go, slowly opening. So I would usually download this audit summary. Oh, what's happening here? I don't know what this is. Sorry, guys, trying to navigate what I'm doing here. Oh, it's in numbers, no wonder. Okay, I'm going to see if I can open this in a different. Open with. Let's hope there's Excel here. If not, basically, when you download it, no, it doesn't. It's not, okay. Basically, if you download it, what you want to do is put your filters on at the top. So you can just highlight the top field there and you can put your filters on. And why I suggest that is because you might only want to see which of those transactions are my, say, for example, I don't know, payment gateway. And usually that is the case because you want to see what you've processed through OWNA and what you've actually received in your bank. So when you open up your report, and I'm sorry, guys, this is not Excel and I can't actually show you what it looks like. What you'll do is you'll put your filters on here, and in the description, in the transaction column, what you do is you just filter out every other transaction and you leave the payment gateway ones highlighted. And what that will show you is all your line items that make up those totals. So I won't go into too much detail for each of those other than the payment gateway ones, because I feel like those are the questions that we get most about. How do I check what I've received in my bank is what I'm expected to receive. And so these would be, I guess, the reports that you would generally want to use. So you download your audit summary report, you filter out all the transactions except for the payment gateway ones. And I know this is not the greatest download, but you'll see a column that says gateway reference. So just keep that one in mind, because what that means is every transaction that goes through Fat Zebra has a ID or a gateway reference. In OWNA, it's called gateway reference. And so if you filter these, and let's just pretend this is a payment gateway, each one of these will have a reference number. Now, I'm pointing this out because some centers want to, I guess, match all their transactions to Fat Zebra, just to make sure, you know, I've actually received that payment. And the best way I find to do it is by that gateway number, because they're all unique. Every single transaction has a unique number. Okay, so this is the audit summary report, which I find very, very useful. Some centers might only want to see CCS payments. And again, you can download the report, you can filter out only the CCS payments, and you can see, you know, which family has received what. CCS amount. Okay, I'm just going to quickly look at my notes, see if I had anything else on the audit summary report. If not, what I might do is go into Fat Zebra. And again, these are going to be screenshots, guys, because I don't actually have a live, and I don't want to go into someone's real Fat Zebra portal. So I'm just going to try and maximize. Can you guys see this, or is this really teeny tiny? Can you guys let me know? Is that better? Hopefully that's better. Okay, all right. So what I'll show you is I've done a screenshot. This is a center, but I have hidden, obviously, the names. Okay, when you run your summary report, and this is for, again, I'll just backtrack a little bit. This is the process I generally tell centers when they call up and say, look, I've got this much in my bank account. I don't know what it is. I want to match it back to my figures in OWNA. Or another question might be, I'm doing my October reconciliation. I want to find out in October, I'm expected to receive, for example, 88,000. Where can I find this in Fat Zebra? So this is generally the process that I will go through with centers, because every service has a different way that they reconcile and I say month because it generally is month, but every center does it differently every single month, or they might be asking or looking for different figures every month. So I'm trying to be as general as possible, but also be specific where I can, I suppose. Okay, so once you've run your audit summary report for, let's just say this is the month of October in this screenshot, and I'm looking at the payment gateway figures. And again, this center has got CCS payments. They also have other ways that they receive their payments, but I am looking at the payment gateway. So this center has received 3,600 in all the direct debits and 1,300 in credit cards, and those have been processed through Fat Zebra. Now I'm now going to go to my audit summary report, and what you want to do is scroll to that bottom where I showed you before, choose a group session, export it to Excel. And this is kind of where it should look like this, where you filter out your transaction type to your payment gateway. And then under this last column, you'll see all the numbers and figures for that gateway ID. So what I would normally do is I would, copy and paste all my payment gateway transactions into one Excel sheet. So then I will have on one sheet for the month of October, these are all my payments that I should have expected to receive in Fat Zebra. What I will then do next, and this is where the Fat Zebra merchant dashboard really comes into play. So if you don't have access and you generally do the month ends, I would recommend that you get access to this. If you don't, just send us an email, let us know, and we can easily set you up with that access. Or if you've got access but you can't remember your password, so Fat Zebra is completely separate entity to us. So OWNA doesn't own them. We just use them as our merchant of choice. But if you do have access issues, you will need to contact Fat Zebra directly. So we unfortunately can't reset your password from our end. So I'm going to assume you've got access. Now you've logged onto your dashboard, and this is generally what you will see. It does default to a date. So I can't remember what it defaults to, but you can change your own date range. Now, there are many sections in the Fat Zebra dashboard, and I'm going to be totally honest and say that it is not the most user-friendly dashboard. There are lots of links, lots of different things, and lots of things that I don't even use myself. And I'm just going to be honest, I only generally use this section here under the admin section for the reports. But you can use under the general section, you'll be able to click all of these, except some of these I think you don't have access to, which you don't need access to, so don't worry about that. But like I said, I generally use the admin section. I don't generally use the ones at the top. And if I scroll down, what I want to show you is if you click into the admin and you open up your reports, you'll see the breakdown of your credit cards. And I'm only showing you this on this screenshot because you can't really tell when you're in the dashboard which ones are your credit cards. But essentially under reports, the first two will be all your credit card payments. And I'm going to assume you've already filtered the dates. But this will show me all my transactions and payouts, and I'll go through each one as well separately. Payment plans I never use. I don't even know what it is. I don't even know if I've got access, but I don't use that one. I just use the direct entries, and these will be all my direct debits. So again, Fat Zebra will separate your payments. And so I'm sure you've already known this by now, but all the payments from Fat Zebra will come into two lots. One will be your credit card bulk payments, and then the other will be your direct debit payments. And what you'll generally see is it comes into your account looking something like this. So if you've got a reference that says FZ dash, with these numbers and letters, that's your credit cards. And then you've got another one that will come in, that will say OWNA dash numbers, and those are all your direct debits. Now, just one thing to keep in mind, and it depends on if you if you pass your fees onto your families or if you absorb them. But what FATSABRA does is with your credit card payments, so your credit card fees are 1.6% plus 10 cents on top of the actual transaction amount. So what they do with these fees is, so say you're a centre that passes the fees onto your family. So every week, for example, you invoice your family, and on that invoice, the fee portion gets added on top. So say your family is invoiced $100, the fee will be $1. What is it? $1.70. Sorry, I can't do the maths right now. Yeah, $1.70. So the total invoice will be $101.70. If I'm getting this wrong, sorry, I'm probably just embarrassing myself. Let's just pretend it's $100.70 that they owe you on this invoice. So you charge on this family, it gets processed through FATSABRA. What FATSABRA will do is they will take that fee portion out first. So they'll take that $1.70 out, and then they'll deposit like the 100 into your bank account. So what you'll generally find is the amount that you, have in OWNA is higher than what you're actually getting in your bank account because of the fees. So just keep that in mind. Just remember when you're doing your reconciliation, you'll need to add that fee portion back on what you've actually received in your bank account. Now, direct debits is slightly different because they just like to make it interesting for us. They don't take the fees out. So you charge your family 65 cents on top of your transaction. So it's $100.65. FATSABRA will pay you the entirety of that. So they'll transfer the full $100.65 into your bank account. And then at the end of the month, they will send you an invoice. And that invoice will be all your direct debit fees. So it'll be 65 cents times however many transactions you've processed for that month. And you actually need to pay that to FATSABRA. So what you'll get is a remittance advice for your credit card fees. So these ones, and you don't pay that. It's just I think they still email that to you every month just to let you know how much of the fees was taken out before they deposited. And then you'll get a second invoice, which is an actual invoice that you do pay, and that's for all your direct debit fees. Okay, hope I haven't confused you there, but it's just something to point out. When you receive these invoices, a lot of services are going, why am I paying? And that's what it is. It's the fees for your direct debits. Okay, just jumping back to the FATSABRA merchant, you'll see under the reports, transactions and payouts. Again, when you get a chance, just click into either of them, and then that way you can sort of navigate and get used to what they are. Essentially, with the credit card ones, this is how I would normally suggest centres run if they wanted to match up their transactions in OWNA, or sort of make sure that what was recorded in OWNA was actually paid to my service. The best way for me to suggest centres to do this is to use the transactions. So when you get a chance, if you click into the payouts are what you actually receive in your bank account. So you'll see all these lump sum amounts, and these are what you actually receive in your account, but it just gives you a total figure. So I actually want to go and make sure all my transactions are there, and that's why I use the transactions. So generally, when you click that transactions, it will take you to a page that looks like this. Keep in mind the first step you need to do is to select your date range. So I've tried to do some steps here. It is really brief, and at least it's something to begin with. But once you click onto that transactions page, the first thing you do is filter your date range. So in my example earlier, I'm doing my reconciliation for the month of October. So I've just selected the month of October, and I will download my detailed report. Because what happens is once you click that, all my transactions are in front of me, but I want to actually VLOOKUP, say, for example, or compare all my transactions from my audit summary report in OWNA. So what I do is I generally go click download detail report, and what you'll find, and I haven't done one obviously because I don't want to use real data, you'll see it come out as an Excel sheet, and you'll see that there is a ID column, and that ID column is exactly the same, I guess, reference as the ones in OWNA. So the one that I showed you, the one I showed you earlier in OWNA, which is the payment gateway reference, those figures, those IDs will match these ones. So that's how you can do your check, that you make sure you've been paid and it's been recorded in OWNA correctly. So those are your credit cards. Let me just keep scrolling down. So again, that's under transactions. Do your date range, do your detailed report, and that way you can see that ID. I mean, you can use this screen. It will just show you as of that date, I got one transaction as of that date, but it doesn't tell me any detail as to who's paid it, what my fees were for that particular payment. That's why I generally encourage the download detailed report. And again, you can filter things out. You can, keep things in. Now, those are your credit cards. So once you've done your credit card checks, you can then do your direct debit checks. And it's similar, but not, because again, Fat Zebra likes to make things interesting for us. So once you click, sorry, I'll scroll back up quickly because I don't have the actual live screen. So those are your credit cards, and I was in the transactions one. Now I want to do direct debits. That will be under your direct entries. And again, this is all under the admin in the reports. So I don't look at the ones at the top. I look at just purely under admin and direct entries. So if you scroll down again, this is the screen that you'll get when you click that direct entries. Now it defaults to the summary page, and this is what the summary page looks like. Again, this particular setter didn't have any payments in the month of October, but if they did, it would show you, say on that date, you processed 20 payments and that's how much total. But to me, that won't mean much because I want to see individual transactions. So I, again, don't know why they've done it differently for direct debits, but you click onto the transactions tab. And once you click that, you should be able to then choose your date range. And then similar to the credit cards, you want to click the actions and download your transactions. And that way you've now got your credit cards on an Excel, you've got your direct debits on an Excel, and then you've got your audit summary from OWNA in the third Excel. And what you want to try and do is just match up those payments using the IDs, which I find is the easiest way, just to make sure that all your payments have been processed correctly. So that's pretty much what the Fat Zebra reporting, that's, the main reports in Fat Zebra that I generally use. Transactions and payouts for your credit cards and direct entries for your direct debits. Okay, I know I've gone over time, but I really wanted to just quickly go through a few other reports. And I know we've only really looked at the audit summary report and the family account screen, but I have to say the audit summary report is probably one of the more used reports by centres, but there is so much functionality around it that a lot of people don't know about. So that's kind of why I wanted to start with that one. If you use the reconciliation report as well, which is also available under families, or you could go under reports and look for it that way. It uses the exact same data as the audit summary. So again, if you're using the reconciliation report, balance your accounts first. I'm just going to leave the date range so I can show you what it looks like. But essentially it uses the same data, but just in a different format. So this way, this one looks at all your, I guess, your different categories. And then if you scroll down, it shows you every single transaction for that date range, and you can export it. So I'm just going to, actually I can't export it here, but you can. It's just a different format for that data if you don't want to use the audit summary report. I do find this one a lot more simplified. So if you don't need all the information or all the detail that the audit summary has, you can use the reconciliation report. Just really briefly, what I'll go into is the aged debtors report as well. So again, aged debtors will go off your family transactions. It will also include all your deactivated families. So just keep in mind with your families and accounts, when you go into this page here, it will just default to your current families. So if you wanted to say to go back to October and look at all your family accounts back in October, you will need to also do it for any previous families, because you may have had families attend in October who now don't attend and they're on this list. Just keep that in mind, especially when you're doing the aged debtors. So if you wanted to say, see who was owing as of the end of October, click generate report. Just keep in mind, it also includes people that have paid since then. So, you know, this family may have paid since October. And so that gets added on to the account as well. And you'll see here on the aged debtors report, any of the deactivated families. So there's one of two ways of checking families that have outstanding amounts. You can use the aged debtors report, but honestly, I generally just use the families and accounts page. If I'm backdating it and I wanted to see back in October, just keep in mind, you say existing families, and I'm talking about ones that are still attending, not previous ones. If you wanted to see what an account was as of October and they've paid since then, but you don't want to include that credit, I find the best way to do it is if you scroll down to the bottom of this screen and you put the date, say the 31st of October, and you export it, it won't include any payments since October. So that's another way of checking your account balances that are back in time. Okay, was there any other specific questions? Because I know I only really touched on, say, 2 of the financial reports. There's the bonds report as well. So I can quickly just go through that. And what that is obviously once you collect, once you charge your bonds and you've collected your bonds on the family transaction screen. So I'll just see if I can go to one. That's probably, I might not have an example right up front, but say you've charged a bond and then you've collected a bond, you're now wanting to record that bond. That's what the bond report is for. And the quickest way to find that is if you go to your families and accounts page. If you click onto your actual account, your account, you've got the bond tab here. So if you click onto the bond tab, this is where you will record that this particular family has actually paid their bond. So this doesn't actually put funds anywhere. It is purely just a record keeping report. Just so you can keep track of obviously how much bond you should have in your bond account if you do have a separate bond account. So let's just pretend whatever it is, let's just go today and I'm going to record that bond. What you'll see is in the bond history that you've recorded that this particular family has now paid that bond. And again, Peter would have gone through this in his training, but I'll just quickly add it. See here, it will show in this bond column how much bond that particular family has now paid. And you can also go up here to click on the bond. And this is on the family and accounts page. If you click on the bonds at the top here, so not the one in the individual account, the one I was in before was this one, so not that one. If you go back into the family accounts screen and you go to the bond, that's the bond report for everyone. So I'm just going to default the date. Actually, maybe not. Maybe I'll go back. This is showing me as between those 2 dates, this is how much bond I've returned, collected. And so you've got your bond balance as of a particular date if you wanted to check your bond. That's what the bond report is for there. What else have I got here? Aged, as I briefly went through, we've got failed payments as well. So that's another useful one. So that's for any rejected payments or payments that didn't actually get processed, which is, we've got a rejected payments process in place. Sorry, if you do have a rejected payments in place, so that you just make sure family accounts, I guess their outstanding amounts don't keep accumulating. So what you can do is run your date range. This won't have any data, but if your centre did have rejected payments, it would show up here as to which families or which payments got rejected. I think that's it. I've gone to over time. I will, again, like I said, I've recorded this training session. So if you generally don't do the financial reporting for your centre or you've got someone else that does it for you, I'll have this, maybe even this link saved to where you can find your FAT Zebra reports. And hopefully that'll help, I guess, find how to check your transactions and check how much was in your bank account. If there's other questions, just send us an email through and hopefully we can answer it as best as we can. But yeah, if did anyone have any specific questions, you can just pop it in the chat or, turn your mic on and I'll try my best to answer it on the spot. If not, I can get back to you after this training session. But that's pretty much going to wrap up today's training. Like I said, if there's no other questions, please feel free to send us an email and join our weekly training sessions because every week we'll have something on different. Thanks guys for joining. If there's no other questions, I'm going to end the recording now. And then, like I said, I'll share the link if anyone has any questions. Oh, well, you're welcome guys. I'm just going to stop my share. There we go. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.